Their prophets waited for silence. For centuries, they stood atop towering marble spires, robed in star-dyed fabrics, their pale faces turned toward the void beyond their world's cold moons. They believed that salvation would arrive in the form of an eternal hush, a final stillness that would swallow every echo, every heartbeat, every whisper of life. They taught their children that sound was impurity, that joy was a stain upon the sacred hush waiting to descend. Babies were swaddled in soundproof cradles. Elders meditated in endless silence until their minds became blank mirrors. The entire civilization moved in quiet processions, their feet never striking the ground too hard, their lips sealed shut even as their hearts trembled. For them, silence meant transcendence, a great cosmic hush that would cleanse them of desire and grief. They waited, generation after generation, for the final quiet to sweep them away into a flawless cosmic embrace. Then, from the black sea of stars, our ships arrived. We humans did not come cloaked in silence. We came with clanging hull plates and laughter that rattled the landing docks. We sang as we unpacked crates of seeds and tools, as we swung hammers and roasted strange local fruits over open flames. Our voices spilled into the air like bright paint across a blank canvas. At first they hid. Their prophets warned them, "Do not listen. Do not breathe in that vile noise. Their sound will corrode your spirit." But curiosity, the oldest flame, began to flicker in their hearts. Children peeked from behind crystal pillars. Elders pressed trembling fingers to the seams of their robes. We didn't call them out. We simply kept singing. Songs of distant earth, of warm meadows, of rivers that roared like lions, of rain tapping on metal roofs at midnight. Ballads of loss and longing. Chants of triumph and sunrise, lullabies that hummed like mother's arms. At night, by our fires, we played makeshift instruments, wooden flutes carved from local reeds, drums built from abandoned crates. Our songs carried into the hushed alleys and moonlit plazas, sneaking past heavy curtains and solemn prayers. Then one night, a young girl crept into the circle. She had eyes like a winter sea, her hands shaking as she reached for a drum. We paused, but a human woman leaned forward, handed her the stick, and gave a soft nod. She struck the drum once, a thin, frightened sound that seemed to crack the night in half. The prophets gasped from their towers, but the girl did not stop. She hit it again, louder, and then again, until her entire body moved with the rhythm. Her face twisted, first in terror, then in wonder, then in pure, wild joy. Other children followed, then the young, then even the elders. Slowly they came, drawn by a magnetic pull they could not resist. They took up our flutes, learned our songs, found their own voices. The silence that had once strangled them fell away like a rotted husk. Their prophets watched in horror as their people danced. They pleaded for them to return to meditation halls, to remember the sacred hush. But the people heard something far older than fear. They heard themselves. In a single night, 1,000 songs rose into the sky. Songs they had never dared to sing, voices they didn't know they possessed. Songs of grief for lost children, songs of devotion to new love, songs of defiance against the cold stars. They sang under moonlight, until dawn painted the horizon with molten fire. They sang until they collapsed into each other's arms, trembling and alive in ways they'd never imagined. When the prophets came down from their towers, they found no audience. Their chants dissolved beneath the weight of shared laughter and trembling harmonies. Some prophets wept, some screamed, but a few, just a few, began to hum, uncertain and shy. We did not conquer them. We didn't dismantle their temples or tear down their scrolls. We simply offered them sound, and they discovered the universe waiting within their own throats. They had waited for silence to save them. But we answered with 1,000 songs, and they realized that life is not measured by the absence of noise, but by the abundance of shared voices, rising and falling like stars being born. They became composers of new ballads, builders of echoing amphitheaters, sculptors of wind chimes that carried music across the valleys. Even the old prophets found solace in quiet melodies, realizing at last that silence can be sacred, but only after you've learned how to sing. In the end, they no longer waited for cosmic hush. Instead, they lifted their faces to the sky and joined us in a chorus that shook the heavens awake.